Rick, as you know, my daughters, they're a tough crowd. Wouldn't you think?
That's the safe thing to say. Yes.
They are thoroughly unimpressed with me, our show, you, everything.
Even me.
Yes.
Yeah.
They couldn't care less. However, right now, for a brief moment in time, I am now the cool dad because of our next guest. He's had a wonderful career in acting.
What if he's mean to you?
That's fine. Okay. They're going to love it if he's mean to
you.
He's worked with movie legends like Mel Brooks, and he was a Disney Channel superstar when my kids were growing up.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to the great Allan Kramer right after this.
This is the Minutia Men Celebrity Interview with Rick and Dave.
So, Eric, in all seriousness, I'm not kidding. You are revered in our household. My kids have seen every episode of Good Luck Charlie, and as collateral damage goes, I think I've watched every episode of Good Luck Charlie, and I actually, I thought Good Luck Charlie and Wizards of Waverly Place were the two best shows on the Disney Channel. They weren't. Some of the Disney Channel shows I didn't really dig, but I loved Good Luck Charlie. You played the affable and loving bug exterminating dad. You were wonderful. Thank you. And you really, and I'm not even blowing smoke here. You really did have an impact on my kids. And that, tell us about, I'm sure I'm not the first person to have mentioned this to you. And that must have been a really impactful thing that you did, those years ago.
Yeah, well, first of all, the title Disney Superstar, I would kind of just like to end the interview now. Because the more I open my mouth, the more I'm going to chip away at that. And
that's fine.
Your listeners are going to be going, why the hell did you have him on?
Our listeners are going, Disney Superstar? What are you doing?
Most of our listeners are our age, and which is your age. You're like we were born in 63. You were born in 62, right? And they all have kids. So I think you'll be surprised on how this is going to resonate with our listeners.
Well, I think we're actually, because the show came down in 2012, so we're on our, I think, third generation now.
Wow.
Of new of new families. I will say it was really, doing that show was really one of the highlights of my career. We were sort of an experiment for Disney, as we were really the first. I mean, I thought we were a genuine family show. Like, I thought you could have put that show on Friday nights on ABC, and we would have ran forever. We were far more Family Ties than we ever were.
Hannah Montana,
or Victorious, or whatever.
And by the way, nothing against any of those shows, but it was a real. I think our show was a real departure for Disney. Our tagline amongst ourselves on the cast was, the Duncans weren't wizards, but they really wanted to be.
I like that.
But we were the one thing I am proud about that show was I thought we were a family show that the whole family could watch together. And, certainly we had our share of, banana peel episodes where we're, bowling Santas over with giant snowballs and stuff. But we had...
It was a sitcom. You had to do it.
We definitely had some shows that were very much family driven. Everybody got fun stuff to do. And it was a show that obviously, and, like I say, we came down in 2012, and it still resonates with each new generation of families that come through. Because a lot of what we did, it's sort of timeless, and families can families can definitely see a part of themselves in the Duncans.
So in my, you guys did the movie, that Christmas movie where you're going to was it Palm Desert you were going, or Palm Springs, right?
Yeah, the family we got broken up. The
Right.
family gets split up on the plane, and it's sort of it's a whole journey to reunite the family by the end.
So when that movie came out, like a year after, my in-laws live in Palm Desert, and we had a horrible trip to get from Chicago to Palm Desert, and throughout the entire thing, this is just like Good Luck Charlie. This is good luck. Awesome airport, though. It's a great airport.
So
It was actually, I will say the unfortunate thing about that movie was the family just wasn't together. It was great in the sense that I really got a chance to bond with my sons, because that was like two seasons in, or it happened right before the second. I can't remember, but I had a chance. I really had a chance to hang out with the boys, and we played a ton of paintball and just sort of wandered around Utah. And so from that end, it was great and really a lot of fun for me.
you know, this is going to surprise you, but I never saw the show, and when
his son's not daughter,
a
little older.
When I found out that you were going to be on the show, I was like, oh, the British guy, because of this.
Oh, they call me Little John.
Ah!
They call it my name for you. Real life. Very big.
I love that movie. It's Robin Hood Men in Tights. You were one of the big parts in that film.
Stop.
Oh, whoa,
Stop
excuse me.
making Amazon
Yeah,
sellers
sorry,
sweat.
that's my YouTube running wild on me. But so you also worked with Mel Brooks, and Mel Brooks, obviously, for people our age, he's an icon. I don't think anybody
Doesn't like Mel Brooks.
doesn't love Mel Brooks in some way, shape, or form.
That was really one of the greatest jobs I ever did, and it's and it took them forever to cast me, because I didn't really have much of a name at the time, and Mel wanted a celebrity in there, and I think I went back. I think I saw him. I swear, I think it was like 6 or 7 times.
Wow.
And there's a very long story about my final audition going in.
Well, it's the one that you almost died. You almost died, right? You almost fell to your death from a balcony or something, didn't you?
Yeah. I decided that I was going in, for the umpteenth time to see Mel, and I just thought, well, I have to do something different. I have to do something to sort of shake it up and I don't know, give him a visual or something. So I went down to a makeup store and I bought a bunch of crepe hair, a bunch of fake hair, and I went home and I put a huge beard on myself before going in for the audition. And I remembered I had left something down in my car in this complex that I was living in. And I went out of like right out of a sitcom. I went out of my little condo there, and I heard the door close behind me, and I realized I didn't have my keys, and I couldn't get back in. I couldn't even drive off in a car to get to the audition. Everything, I had to leave in like 10, 15 minutes. And so I started, I was just panicking. There was no way I could get into my place. So I knocked on, and I'm trying to think of how I can get back in. And I realized, I think my slider was open, on my bed, on the bedroom floor, which was 2 floors up, which was actually 3 floors up because there was a parking garage underneath. So I knocked on my neighbor's door. She opened it to this freak here and this giant beard and hair all over the place. And, I don't
Trick
have
or
my
treat.
shirt on, I'm dressed. I'm like, I explained to her the situation, and I said, look, is there any way that I can, maybe I can crawl across the balconies to get onto So she lets me in. I go all the way up to the second floor. Now I'm 3 floors up, and I'm looking over her balcony, and the walls to the balcony that separate the balconies go all the way to the edge. So there's no way that I can even sort of climb along the rail. So the only thing I could do was climb up on top of the rail, sort of reach around the stucco wall, which was probably a foot and a half thick. And it was, you want to talk about how badly do you want the job?
Right. Death or Mel Brooks? Yeah,
the only thing to do was like throw myself off the balcony and hope I had enough momentum to swing around and over onto the other balcony. And it was just like, well, here we go. I'm looking at concrete 3 floors down, and I jumped off and didn't quite have enough momentum to go all the way, but I had enough friction on the wall that I could sort of hang and kick my leg up over my balcony rail, and then throw myself over that and sort of roll on my balcony all the way up to the slider, which thank God was open.
Yeah, what would have happened if it wasn't open? You would have smashed it probably, right? I mean,
I would at that point. It would have been, you know what? I'm paying for a new door.
Did you?
Yeah, then I got in and I got all the way down to see Mel, and completely worth it. I walked into the room. Mel took one look at the beard and rolled his head back and started laughing as hard as I ever heard him laugh. And that was sort of it. That was the moment that I realized that I had gotten a role.
So what was he like? What was Mel like?
Oh, he's the absolute, just one of the greatest experiences of my life. We actually called that whole shoot Camp Brooks because we shot out in the Antelope Valley. Actually, we were on the other side of the hill from where Vic Morrow
he died.
Bought it.
Yeah.
But it was like going to the Renaissance Fair every day. They had the castles and stuff built. All the extras were SCA people, Renaissance Fair people. So it was like this huge festival every day when you went to work, and you would go and you would ride horses and shoot arrows and tell jokes. And when you weren't doing that, you sat in Video Village, you shut your mouth, and you let Mel tell stories.
Yeah.
And it was just a phenomenal experience. Meeting Anne Bancroft was one of the first times I was so starstruck I couldn't speak. Meeting her.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, it was just everybody in the world came to visit that set.
Yeah. Did you meet Carl? Was Carl Reiner? Did Carl Reiner come by?
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. And oh my God, anybody that you could think of, because Mel was obviously friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody just came down just to see what he was, just to see what he was doing. Kevin Costner came down, which I thought was incredibly brave.
Well, wasn't Richard Lewis in that movie too?
And Richard Lewis was in that movie, and yeah. Just such a great time. Dom DeLuise had one of the best cameos I'd ever seen him do. It was the old guard. It was old Hollywood. Mel's stories about your show of shows. Just an incredible experience.
I've heard different stories that he's kind of scary at points, right? And I think I read an article with you, something about he would say right before he would roll the camera, he would say something to the effect of, what you may now know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Mel wanted to be sure he had control over everything. And absolutely not a mean guy, but but every once in a while the pressure had to go somewhere. My favorite line of his was right before we would we would start shooting, one of his favorite lines that I still laugh about to this day was he would go, "Some of you are going to be in Men in Tights 2. Some of you are not."
Right before the camera starts rolling.
I love that.
Just great. Just so much fun.
Yeah.
You grew up in Canada, right? I mean, I don't hear any Canadian accent at all.
It was it's so funny. Maybe I did, and it was gone. Originally, I was born in Michigan.
Oh,
okay.
And my father played pro football up in Canada, which is how we got up to Canada. That's my dog desperately wanting to be in the interview.
Oh, bring him in. What kind of dog? What kind of dog?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know. I'll send you a picture if you can figure it out. He's a mix and a half.
Oh.
That one, but it's his duty to guard the house, evidently.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you're walking your dog and somebody's dog is losing it in the window,
Yeah.
that is not the time to stop and check your
Right,
message.
I know.
That is
Exactly.
the time to just keep moving.
I feel exactly the same way.
Oh my goodness.
So you were saying your dad played football. So
My dad played
Yeah.
football up in Canada, and we followed him up there, and that's how we wound up in Canada. And I got all my education up there. The funny story was I met a friend of mine, Mark Ralston, for the first time in an audition here in L.A. And this is after a couple of decades in Canada. And I had just moved down to L.A. I was at this audition. Mark was in the room, and we were talking. And he turns to me and he goes, "Oh, Michigan, huh?" And I was a little bit like, "Brr, brr, brr, brr." "What?" He says, "Your accent. You're from Michigan."
Oh, wow.
And I went, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I've just lived in Canada for the last 20 years." And he says, no. He says, whatever. He says, you were from Michigan then. I went, "Yeah." He says, "Oh yeah." No. He says, "I can hear it in your voice."
Well, let me ask you a question. This might be a little random, but weren't there two teams in the Canadian Football League named the Rough Riders?
Yes.
It's a little. I mean, us Americans
Always bothered us.
Yeah, it's always bothered.
Ottawa and Saskatchewan. Yeah.
How do they know which one is which?
Yeah.
And what's the deal with the 55-yard line? Okay, that's another thing that we're not understanding.
Well, I mean, what I always loved about the Canadian game was that it was always the deal was it was always much more wide open than the American game. The American game back in the day was all, the running back was the team.
Right.
And now, of course, now it's completely different. But the fun about the Canadian League was they were constantly throwing the ball. So you had all that, so much more room on the field because it was wider as well as longer. And it was a much more wide open game. But yeah, I'm with you on the Rough Rider thing. Even as a kid,
what? We've all seen you, and you're a big guy. Your dad was a football player. Did you ever think about playing football? Did you ever head that direction? Yeah,
I did actually up until theater school, and then there was I was sort of put to the choice because I couldn't do both because theater school was a 12-hour a day commitment. And I had always wondered what would have happened if I had gone the other way. And then shortly after a couple of years after I got out of theater school, I wound up playing a football player for this Education of Billy Shavers for CBC. And we were shooting scenes with the Edmonton Eskimos.
Oh.
So it's a bunch of real football players with, this actor in pads. So I guess they sort of needed to remind me that was the case.
Gotcha.
And we had one scene where this running back was coming through a hole that was opened. I was supposed to meet him in the hole and tackle him. Well, the first take, he ran over me like I wasn't even there.
Like a cartoon.
Yeah, excuse me, have you read the script, sir?
Right.
Absolutely.
Hey, actor boy, tackle me, actor boy. Right.
Laid me out and made it look like he wasn't even trying.
Yeah.
You know?
So you
Laid me out.
So you made the right choice.
You made the right choice, right?
Oh my Lord! My helmet was halfway off my head, and one of the linemen stepped up to me and looked down and went, "Can we get somebody to help the actor?"
Yeah, right. An Eskimo just killed one of our actors, right?
Oh man! But yeah, that was the moment where it was like, yeah, no, I think maybe I've made the right decision. Maybe I.
But it's pretty evident when I watch you that you're kind of light on your feet. Now, I mean, of course, that kick line in Men in Tights was perhaps the greatest achievement. But you're also a fight choreographer, right? So how does movement?
Yeah. Well, first of all, they love to make big guys dance.
Right.
So,
it's just funny.
Yeah.
It's just
that
funny.
was just and that was that's 4 years of theater school. Everything from like tap to ballet to jazz to ballroom to everything. So that always came easy. And then and then I became a fight choreographer sort of while I was in school, and then afterwards when I got out, I had an amazing mentor, Jean-Pierre Fournier, who kind of took me under his wing and brought me into that world. But yeah, it's movement and footwork and dance and all that has been a much bigger part of my career than you would think. Very few roles am I going drop the gun, Magnum.
Right.
It's more like, Magnum, would you like to dance?
Well,
hey, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
We've had a ton of actors on the show, and we did our show all through COVID, and obviously that was a kind of it seemed to me a tipping point about how things have changed, like auditioning. My daughter's actually going to the University of Illinois. She's starting in fall in theater. So, any advice to young people, and how things have changed? Well, you've been doing this for 40 years, basically, right? How have things changed? Because
I don't think things have changed for the better. Look, there are so many more opportunities now for people to just be creative. Anybody with an iPhone and a computer can shoot a movie now. I think there's far more opportunity now to create your own stuff and get it seen and get it out there. Certainly than when I was starting my career. Now, having said that, I don't know how the generation coming up makes their living as an actor now, unless they get extremely lucky. I mean, just from a purely business standpoint, the money is gone now in this business. So I don't know. You look at the.
Oh, did we lose you?
And it's ridiculous. I mean, anybody who thinks that we're in this for the money should take a closer look at bank accounts.
So, just to remind you as you finish your answer that you're telling this to a guy who's about to spend $120,000
on a kid's tuition to go to so she should start scoping out Starbucks. Then basically
shoe stores.
But I'm not. This is what I tell all the classes I talk to, all the students I talk to. I'm absolutely a believer in following your dreams.
Yeah,
I believe that what we do is important. I believe in the craft. But I tell them, you have to look at it as a business and understand that it's much, much harder now. I mean, even if you're a series regular now, you're not doing 22, 24, 26 episodes in a season.
Yeah, you're doing 12.
You're doing 8,
Yeah.
12 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And even then, not for the kind of money that you were making before. You know, residuals are gone now because of streaming, because of all of this. And plus, too, it's so much harder to build relationships now because of this self-tape that came out of COVID. Now, is self-tape convenient? Yes. Can you work on getting the take that you absolutely want to send in? Of course. However, we've lost to win the room. We've lost the ability to take notes from the directors, producers, writers. We've lost the ability to be considered for us, not right for the role that we're coming in, and we've just lost the ability to be remembered. I think it's what scares me is that we're slowly sort of pushing the creativity out of the business. And maybe this is just an old man talking, but I'm telling you, it's like we've also lost the ability to get these people to see a role a different way.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're totally right, and we, see this, and we're doing our podcast. We're not making any money doing it, and there's so much great content out there, but monetizing it is very, very difficult, and it's exactly what you're saying. Is it's great, for the consumer, certainly. I mean, how many different choices do we have? But it's hard to make money doing it.
So,
but also too, in this ocean of content that's out there, how many things really stand out to you?
Yeah, right. Not that many.
Yeah.
Like there is everything starts to be regurgitated a little bit, or if one thing does hit, then and this has always been true. There's been 10 other, there's been a dozen copies of it for people trying to ride the wave of what it is. But we've just lost, we've just sort of lost the human connection.
Yeah, even
now.
Meeting other actors when you go to auditions, that we talk to people all the time who say, yeah, how'd you meet such and such, who's your friend now? I met him. We were both, auditioning for a role in such and such a show at the same time. And you start having camaraderie. You start meeting some of the same people. That's gone too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Absolutely. We had, we had a group. We sort of called ourselves the survivors, the older character guys, and you'd see everybody. You'd see all the same names at the auditions, and it was just a great time getting back together and just talking about what people were doing, and it was a great way to just stay in touch.
Yeah.
As well as just be seen, and when you would go in for auditions, they would, the producers, everybody, they'd see about 15 to 20 people. Now with self-tapes, they can get, 100 self-tapes in,
right.
and just send in, their top 5 or 6 picks.
Right. Yeah.
Well, look on the bright side. You don't.
So it really, it really sort of puts actors. I think it just puts the industry at a disadvantage now doing that.
Yeah, but you won't fall to your death doing a self-tape when you're going from balcony to balcony because you got to get to Mel Brooks, So there's that.
Oh,
could have saved your life.
Yeah. Hello?
Uh-oh. I'm having a hard time hearing you guys now.
Oh, okay. Well, Eric, are you still there? All right. I think we lost Eric. But
I'm there, but you're coming in and out.
You know what? We're going to wrap it up. We're big fans of you. We thank you very much for being on the show. We're going to give everybody your contact stuff, where they can find you online. And thank you very much for being on the show. And keep at it, because you're great.
Yeah, we really love you.
And there he is.
Okay.
Well, you know, Eric
good.
Allan Kramer.
Yeah,
is his name.
Great
He's
guy.
doing coaching now.
Right. You can go on his website. What is his website?
I believe it's ericallankramer.com.
Right. And you can sign up for like a Zoom session with him.
Yeah, he does all sorts of things. I'll get it for you here as Dave continues to tell you more stuff going on.
Well, you can. He does a whole thing on questioning and Q&A as to the acting industry. He'll help you with auditions. He'll like do tune-ups, like actor tune-ups for you.
It's called ericallankramercoaching.com, and Allan is ALLAN, and Kramer is KRAMER.
Yeah, great
coaching.
guy. Great guy. I'm telling you that my kids love. I mean, Good Luck Charlie to them is. I mean, they'll still. You know, Lila's 21. She'll still watch it when it pops up.
And my kids will be excited that we talked to Little John from Robin Hood Men in Tights. So for 1 week and 1 week only,
we're the cool dads.
and we have people we need to thank. So who do we need to thank?
Brandon for getting our guest. Thank you very much. So Ed Silla for distributing, and all of our listeners, and Eric for popping on.
And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of
Minutia Men Celebrity Interview.
The preceding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?